Let's talk about the changes made to matchmaking, ranked, and the removal of trio queue. Recently, HiRez has addressed some of the core issues that ranked is facing at the moment by making various adjustments to those, and 2 days ago they released a statement on the current state and where to go from here. I will link the statement down below and you can check it out for yourself if you want to. So first of all, there was the issue of wrong TP gains, sometimes not gaining TP for matches or even losing TP for winning matches and stuff like that, which has been addressed. So that's a very good, solid change, but mostly a needed bug fix and nothing that really requires any sort of praise simply because it's something that shouldn't have been there in the first place. It was a bug, it was removed. Fine. Then we recently received a change to matchmaking. Some values in the system were changed to match more accordingly both in casual conquest as well as ranked conquest. Apparently, these changes take a while to come into place to actually work because they are algorithms that need to readjust every single player. So meaning the more games you play, the better your matchmaking is supposed to become over time by changing and adjusting to the new system. However, I personally have not seen any positive change for me personally. This is just out of my perspective. Maybe I have not played enough games since. I imagine this process could take multiple months, but we actually haven't received any numbers on how many games the new system will need to adjust. So that's basically just blind guessing for us, and that's kind of frustrating because we cannot really say much about matchmaking in its current state the way we did before because it's supposed to change over time. But at the same time, we don't know how long this will take. Basically, HiRez could go on for a year and said, yeah, the changes take a while to adjust, right? You just have to wait it out. It will take time. It will take you to play more games. And we could get stuck with shitty matchmaking forever, and basically that could be used as an excuse. The same change could be made over and over and over. Always claiming the same thing, and we wouldn't actually have to feel any impact. So this could all be placebo in the end. We wouldn't actually know. But let's just assume it is not placebo. In that case, it has simply not taken place yet. Matches are still huge gaps in regards to the division players are in, and the unfairness between teams in both regards. I've also been on teams where we had huge advantages. We had 2 platinum players versus just 1 gold player in one team with a corresponding Smite Guru score gap. So not much that has changed there so far. We'll see. That's all I can say about this. But this brings us to the other point, which is 3-man parties. 3-man parties, apparently, according to HiRez, had a negative impact on both very high levels of ranked as well as very low levels of ranked. This is specifically talking about conquest ranked. For 3v3, there may be different changes in the future, but that's another matter altogether. So, there's a negative impact of 3-man queues. For high level ranked, it's pretty easy to see what that means. If you have 3 Grandmasters players from a team, a competitive team queuing together, they're just going to steamroll the opposition. What this meant for low level queues is actually not that clear. It could be either way. It could be that 3 players together are able to climb up faster, or that 3 players that are all bad together impact the match in an even worse way, that you actually have a terrible match if you're sided with the 3-man queue simply because the enemy gets some more competent players and you're stuck with really incompetent players. I don't know. It's not specified. We'll just assume that it's the same scenario as in high-level ranked. Either way, the whole thing comes with a problem that wasn't really evaluated enough, I feel. Sure, 3-man queues are problematic. There is no doubt about that. If you have a coordinated 3-man queue of people that play efficiently together, then 3-man queue will ruin your day. They will just fuck you up if you're not in 3-man queue with an equally coordinated team. Now, first of all, it has to be clear that not every 3-man queue is coordinated to the same extent. Not every 3-man queue is using voice, though many probably will. And not every 3-man queue is actually coordinated. Many people just, queue with 3 people for fun. And in that case, as far as we were told, the enemies would be made slightly stronger. They would pick slightly stronger enemies to compensate for the advantage of the 3-man queue. So that would actually, if you're not coordinated and you're not synergistic between the 3 people, put you at a disadvantage. So I don't think everyone would get an equal advantage out of being in a 3-man queue. It's mostly people that are really well coordinated together that really reap all the benefits of it. But given the statistics, there should be something here that indicates that there is a problem in general. So, okay, we're okay with that. But now, what does that mean? Removing the queue, the 3-man queue now, means that there are plenty of people who are able to climb up into divisions that are limited. Grandmasters, not everyone can get into Grandmasters, there's only 100 slots there. And generally would have changed the whole ELO system, because the ELO system corresponds to the number of players in the ELO brackets. So you always have to find that average in the middle with a lot of people. And it would have dragged up the average by having people climb up with the 3-man queue that are now in divisions they shouldn't be, making it harder for people that are in lower divisions to climb to those divisions, even though it should be easier for them if there wasn't 3-man queue. In conclusion, this means that without a reset, removing 3-man queues all of a sudden is a really problematic thing. You have a bunch of players that got all the way up to Grandmasters, or at least Diamond, by playing 3-man queue. And these people are just there like, yeah, we're not getting punished and like we're not getting placed down, even though we got the advantage of a system that didn't work well. And that's extremely frustrating in my opinion, especially if you're sitting at lower ranks now. At lower ranks, 3-man queue is probably the only way to ensure that you get at least halfway competent players. I can speak for myself here. When I queue with 3 people, I usually make sure that they at least know how to build and stuff like that. If I don't 3-man queue, I can end up with 4 people that are completely clueless about the game. Now, I'm not saying I'm a good player or anything, definitely not. I'm just saying that I understand the game, and if I end up not being able to trio queue, then I have a higher risk of ending up with people that don't understand the game, which is really frustrating. So, what this means is we should have a change to matchmaking, a bigger change than we have right now, a better adjustment before we consider acting on the queues. The queue system itself is a flaw, obviously, or it was a flaw, now it's removed, but we still have 2-man parties, which will in the end be the same flaw, just to a lesser extent. But that's not the point. People queue with 3 people, A, because it's more fun, and B, because they can avoid the downsides that matchmaking currently has. We don't queue 3-man queue just to stomp over the opposition. That was never the goal. Obviously, for some people it is, but generally, ranked with less than 3-man pre-made can be very, very frustrating. Even with 3-man pre-made, it can be frustrating, but the less people you have in your team that you know, that you can play coordinated with, the more frustrating it becomes. It's also harder to practice synergy with less people, so those who want to go into competitive have to focus more on their own game and less on synergy between multiple players in a team, which can decently be done with 3 players. So the change comes with a lot of downsides. And I'm not going to go on over this now. It's fine. I've covered the topic, and I'm not going to rant about it. I'm just saying how it is, and that the solution as it is addressed as of now is far from ideal. What I find more frustrating is the part that is about future plans. The things that are addressed regarding future plans are 2 things. A, better adjustments to players who've taken a break for a while. And B, ranked resets for Season 3 with a TP system and all that stuff. The problem here is that matchmaking doesn't really appear anymore. Matchmaking is something that should consistently be worked on, and it should always be a key priority. Yes, people taking a break and then coming back is a small part of that, but there are so many more factors going into this. There are so many more things that could be done, starting with the access level to ranked and all that stuff. And none of that is actually addressed, and that's what kind of worries me about where we are going with this. these are things that should always be taken into consideration. Ranked should have a larger priority than it has at the moment. There should even be a focus on getting people into ranked. That's not addressed either. There's so many things which make me feel like ranked is generally more swept aside than anything else. And we'll see how we go with that in the long run. But overall, I feel like the changes are addressed in a weird way. I would not say necessarily it's a bad way, because, like I said, three-man parties are a problem in essence, so they had to go, but I don't think they were the first thing to go, and they should be the main priority in that regard. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about this. Thank you guys for watching. New videos daily. Duke Sloth, out.